A question many people have is this: does praying in tongues change or evolve over time? And the answer is yes, it can. Just like any part of your spiritual life, this is not static. It develops as you continue walking with God. In the beginning, it will feel simple. You'll start with the simple sounds and the syllables, the repetitive inclinations. The sounds may actually be short and too simple, and the flow is going to be limited at the beginning. And that's okay because you're learning something new. You're learning a new language, especially one that your mental mind's maybe never ever going to grasp because it's a spiritual language. Your spirit is communicating with God. When you pray in the spirit, your spirit is communicating directly to God. You're not talking to any other person. So even your own mental mind, you're not talking to yourself. You're not going to understand it unless the Holy Spirit gives you a gift of knowledge or wisdom or some sort of discernment about interpreting what you're speaking. And you may or may not get that, and that's okay. But over time, you will become more comfortable and consistent. And if you are consistent, you'll notice that your confidence grows, as well as the way you speak, the tone, the tempo, everything. The Holy Spirit will guide you into creating your own, rhythm with Him in your own language and how your spirit speaks. Because we're all made individually, uniquely. So my prayer language is going to be different than the next person and yours. So it's just important to remember that growth is not about performance. It's not about how it sounds. It's not about making the right words. This is about your relationship with God. The goal is not to improve the language. The goal is to improve communication with God. And it ultimately will improve your trust and faith in God because you keep surrendering to the Holy Spirit, trusting that He's praying on your behalf in goodness. And only in goodness, because that's God's character. We can trust the Holy Spirit to pray in words that we can't, groanings too deep for words. Romans 8:26 and 27, we know we can trust Him to take over. But over time, this kind of invitation can start to feel like a responsibility, something that we have to manage, all this stress of having to get it right. But part of maturity is realizing that Jesus made something very clear. What comes from Him is not heavy. Only light comes from Him. Everything light. Matthew 11:28-30. Jesus promises that His yoke is easy and His burden is light. That His grace and strength make all kinds of challenges manageable and peaceful, including praying in tongues and learning something new, like speaking in unknown languages. Praying in tongues is not something you have to perform well, but it is something you have to practice freely. It is that freedom that Jesus gives you to practice and to learn and to communicate with Him and to grow with Him. In its healthiest form, praying in tongues is not about perfection. It's about returning again and again with ease to Jesus, to the Holy Spirit, to God the Father, to Him who can pray and intercede on our behalf, and trust Him that He works all things out for our good. We know this in Romans. So it's about anything you learn new. You're not going to master it in one moment. Don't expect perfection, especially when you just hand it over and trust whatever sounds come out. It's like there's no perfect way to say something. Just how it comes out is how it's perfectly going to come out. You just simply show up and continue praying. So over time, yes, your prayer language will change and evolve. I know mine have changed, kind of general overall tones and syllables and how I start. I've definitely gotten a lot slower and more peaceful when I pray. 'Cause at first it did start out pretty quick. I would almost chant. I came from the New Age, so I had to work that out of my system, where just praying almost naturally, just talking in a language I don't know, like normal voice, normal tempo, like I'm talking to you right now, and just trusting that whatever's happening is what's happening with the Holy Spirit. So I just recommend you practice. Faith will grow over time, especially with this praying in tongues and trusting the Holy Spirit. The more I pray in tongues and just hand over, I'm just amazed at the ease of stuff coming into my life that I didn't realize I needed. I certainly didn't consciously ask for, but looking back in hindsight, it's like I must have said something and the Holy Spirit gives me inclinations that, yes, we've already prayed for this and he prayed for this on my behalf. And it was a blessing, a benefit, a surprise that worked for me. So I highly recommend you try practicing praying in the Spirit and give yourself grace, because it's going to change and evolve over time. But the more you practice, just realize you're going to build consistency. You're going to develop trust with yourself and God, and you're going to stay connected. We're here to abide. Jesus asks us to abide. And one of the easiest ways to abide is praying constantly in the Spirit, surrendering to Him, just abiding and just allowing the fruit to flow naturally from that abiding. So again, this is not about a feeling, this is about growth. Allow yourself to grow in your prayer language. So in the next episode, we will discuss further about how to make praying in the Spirit part of your everyday life, so that you can pray at all times in the Spirit. So I'll see you there.